what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Life Inner Show. On the Life Inner Show, we help people make more, work less, and create lives and businesses they love. I'm your host, Jason Wojo. I am joined by my Polish co-host, Polish Peter. What's up, bro?
Hey, man. I am working on looking smarter. Is it working?
Yeah, it is working. If you're watching video right now, Peter's glasses on, dude. Like, is this another influence of your new wife here? Is she just like, is this a transformational thing for her? Like, she's just like, I want a smarter husband.
No, she already got that. So, I mean, there's not, you can't get smarter than what I already is. My head is big enough already, but no, there is a whole background to that. So it's a temporary thing, I think.
Okay. Gotcha. All right, dude. Well, hey, like, I like the new background. Got the new crib. Nice. Very nice. So listen, man, today we're going to talk about something kind of cool, and it's great timing because we're kind of ready to go into the new year. We're just like a month and a half away, which is going to be here in a blink of an eye.
That's crazy.
It is. It's insane, man. So we're going to talk about growth and goals, G&G, right? And so this is, yeah, that's right. That's right. If there are any,
I'm getting even like with a musician. Oh, got that thing going too.
You might want to check your new house for some sort of some deadly gas that's affecting your ability to think right now, but that's okay. Yes. All right. So listen,
growth
here's
and
the
goals.
thing. Well, listen, seriously, man. So growth to me. So we've talked about the 6 human, Tony Robbins, Chloe Madonis did this thing called 6 human needs. Mm-hmm. And 2 of the 6 needs are what they call needs of the spirit. One is contribution. One is growth. And, you know, they have these online tests for free and you can check out what your needs are. Admittedly, I think it's an easy test to kind of hack and you can kind of put down what you think you really want to value, but you don't necessarily really do in real life. But anyway, that's a side point. For me, one of my biggest needs is growth. And I can tell this because when I look at my history, like ever since I was a kid, I've always enjoyed learning new things, getting good at things, experiencing new things, reading new books, taking new classes, learning new skills. And so growth is something that's really important. And one of the things that I think is really important for people is like, I think, and Tony and Chloe say, like, you know, these 2 needs of the spirit are the only ones that will provide you sustainable fulfillment and meaning. And so, like, I think if you're not a growth oriented person, I think you're going to struggle with long-term sense of fulfillment and meaning and purpose. And I think it's just too easy to stagnate. And so let's talk about this a little bit. Like, how, first of all, what does growth even mean? How does somebody become more growth mindset oriented? And then let's talk about like what are maybe some of the directions and things people can do as they start moving in this direction.
Right. So I think that one of the important things that we need to actually bring up is about the growth, because sometimes when people hear growth, that means educational growth, right? That means something with, maybe it's a personal growth, like maybe it's a growth that is related to making more money or whatever the case may be. I think growth comes in a complete bunch of different areas and shapes and sizes and all that kind of stuff. So if you look at, you know, in Life Under here, we talk about life under vision. And if you look at your life under vision and look at the items of your vision that are most important to you, the priority ones, those are the areas that you need to grow in. So if it's a relationship really important to you, let's say a relationship with your wife or your kids or your mother, that's where you can grow in. So if you start looking from the perspective of, okay, if something in my life is not working or not working as well, and that means that I need to grow in that area, not to fix something, but need to grow in that area, all of a sudden you're going to start looking for opportunities, start looking for maybe some books or audiobooks or having conversations with people that's going to help you grow in that particular area. So that's part 1. Hope that makes sense. The other thing that's pretty simple, if you keep it that way, is, you know, they talk about, Tony Robbins says this a lot. If you're not growing, you're dying, right?
Yeah. So
if you think about it, it's growth. What's the opposite of growth? Tree. If the tree doesn't grow, what's it doing? It's dying, right? Or, you know, it's stagnant. But if you start looking from that perspective, then you start realizing it, how important it is for you to grow in life in whatever area is most important to you. And yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, as you're talking, man, I just think that like as people, we always need a new challenge. You know, we always need something new to shoot for or to strive for or to pursue. Like I feel like, you know, this has been a thing we've seen with life and areas that, for instance, have been with us for a little while. They've knocked off all their vision element items. Life is great in all these different areas and they kind of get bored. they're like, what's next? You know, and it's because I think they kind of stopped challenging themselves. And so like, and I'm not saying that you have to have this, well, I don't know if I'm saying this. I'll just tell you, I'm not sure. Like our listener right now, I have mixed feelings.
Sounds like
over
an
this.
area of life that you need to grow into.
Because here, listen, man, because I believe that even if something's great, you can always be better. Now, right. I don't believe in necessarily being unhappy where you are, although that can be a strong motivator. You need more than that because pain is only short term. And so you need to like really aspire, I think, to accomplish things like, you know, it's like, for instance, if I'm trying to diet down just to get in better shape and I don't really have a reason, we've talked about whys in the past, so we don't need to go into that. But like, if I, for myself, have the goal of wanting to be in the best shape of my life or to step on a stage and compete or to do whatever, right? That draws me towards the goal. I think we need something that draws us in life, that pulls us, that challenges us. Whether it's a new skill, like there's so many things out there. I think otherwise the people that I see that kind of get complacent or they're just bored because they don't challenge themselves anymore. But here's the irony in all this. What I've seen sometimes is that the people who are most successful are most susceptible sometimes to not wanting to try new things because they have such significance and identity wrapped around being really good in one thing or being exceptional that they don't want to try something new because they don't want to look like a newbie again or go through the pain of starting from scratch and being, you know, sucking at something. But I think we just need this, man. We have to, I think we just get bored with life if we don't chase stuff.
Yeah. And I think you just brought up something important because what happens when, you know, going back to the conversation of the 6 human needs, what happens in that particular scenario when the person doesn't want to, you know, start something new and they're looking like, oh, I'm going to look like a newbie. That's because their focus shifts on more of the significance because now it's all about me, how I'm going to look, how's it going to affect me and what people are going to think and all kinds of things, right? So it's a significance thing. However, if you focus constantly on growth, you're going to start looking from different perspectives to actually go after those goals. So here's the thing about goals. One of the important things in order to achieve those goals, I think, is to have this growth mindset behind the goal, as opposed to, let's say, significance or certainty or uncertainty. And, you know, because what happens is if you, let's say you create a goal that you want to achieve something and there's a high need for certainty for you to, you know, make sure that everything goes right or whatever it might be, you'll never reach that goal, right? You're going to get pulled back into the old self to actually be able to grow into this new area of your life. However, you have the mindset of growth. How am I going to grow into this? What needs to happen in order for me to grow into this? More importantly, who do I need to become? Who do I need to grow into to reach that goal? And I think the reason for when you start looking from that perspective, it doesn't make it so much about that goal itself, but about the journey on who you need to grow into to reach that goal. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. But there's multiple aspects of that too. Like, so for instance, you know, becoming somebody who's not going to give up. That's part of who you're going to become. Becoming someone who's going to do everything it takes to succeed. That's part of who you become. You become resourceful. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, regardless of what it is, there is, I think, a lot of spillover into other areas of life when you do pursue things. And so you're kind of talking about something that's a benefit adjacent to or in addition to the actual attainment of the goal we're talking about. So let's say, you know, I'm just going to use this example. And I'll go back to the example of wanting to diet, right, to get in better shape. Well, I'm going to become someone who is more disciplined. I am going to become my willpower will be improved. I'm going to learn different ways to set myself up for success. And guess what? All of those things transfer into other goals as well. And so this is another huge thing is if you don't set goals and if you're not going to move towards something, you're missing out on that entire journey of who you're going to become, which is going to make other goal attainment easier. And this is why I see people like the people that I see that are most successful have succeeded in more than one area of life because they've learned the skills and they've become the person that allows them to achieve goals. But guess what? It all starts with you sucking when you start off and you being okay with it and just crashing and burning and just not giving up.
Right. And you mentioned something important, because guess who's the common denominator across your entire life? You, right? So if you start working in one area of your life, all of a sudden you start noticing changes in the other areas. That's why, a lot of times when I have coaching students come into my group, and let's say they talk about business, I want to grow in business, I want to make more money, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff, right? Sometimes what I have them do is start growing in the areas of their life that are not as, for the lack of a better word, scary, right? That they can believe themselves more attaining in those areas. And when they start attaining goals in those other areas, they start becoming that certain person. And guess what happens? A lot of times the business gets affected and it starts growing as well. It's crazy how that happens, because especially if you're like a, small business owner, you're you own the business, or you're self-employed and those kinds of things. So it's really important to recognize that, because I think that's going to help you get more excited about reaching those goals.
Well, that's a huge point too, man, is like break that goal down into smaller chunks so that you can experience success. So like, say you have this goal of making $1 million in a year for whatever reason. Okay, well, let's see if I can make 100 grand, because I've never made 100 grand. Let's see if I can hit 100 grand, and let's see if I can hit 250. Let's see if I can hit 500. When I was first started competing in bodybuilding, my first goal was to finish in the first half of my class. And so I'm like, I'm not trying to win. I just want to go there, not embarrass myself, number one, but two, I want to place in the first half of my class. And then the next time I'm like, okay, let's see if I can place in the top third of my class. Okay, let's see if I can place in, you know what I mean? Like, let's see if I can make top five. And that's how for me, and I think it's important, is that we experience continual motivation and momentum grows because of those successes. And here, let me just talk about this for a quick second. Is this a little bit of a tangent, but I think it's really relevant here. And you touched on it. I think, and Peter, tell me if you agree or disagree.
No.
You hear people that say like, hey, shoot for the moon. You'll at least reach the stars, or shoot for the moon, or the other way around, one of those, right? The rationale and the logic behind that is like, hey, shoot for something huge. And then if you don't hit it, you still did really good. I don't know if I like that, man, because if your mind, if you've associated success with hitting the moon or the stars and you don't hit it, to me, that feels discouraging and not encouraging. If, however, I pick something that, and this is the key too, it can't be too small, right? Like if your goal is to run a marathon, I don't think you can set a goal of running 100 feet. I mean, unless that is a stretch for you. But I think you have to pick something that's a stretch, but not something that's really, really, really unlikely to happen. Like I kind of think of like you're stretching like physically, right? You're bending over and touching your toes, and I want you to stretch the muscle, but I don't want you to tear the muscle. So you stretch. Those stretches will eventually lead to that attainment of the goal that you set, the larger goal. And you need to stretch, otherwise you're not going to be able to feel genuine success and genuine like acknowledgement or accomplishment rather. But I don't know, man, that's just my approach. Like, so when I set goals and I encourage people to set goals, I'm like, hey, pick something that's a stretch, but that's like a 1 in a million chance of happening, because I think that's going to be discouraging and you're lying to yourself. What do you think?
Well, it depends on the type of a person it is, I think, because here's the thing. If you're the type of a person who gets encouraged, right? I think going after the stars, going after the moon and hitting the stars is probably a good thing. But if you're the type of a person who gets discouraged, who is like looking down and, trying to beating himself up a little bit, if you set yourself up a goal to reach for the moon and you hit the stars, now it's a disappointment. So knowing yourself, I think, and how you operate is going to help you set up the goals in the right way to get you to where you want to go. So the person who gets discouraged, often I think, having the smaller chunks of goals are probably a good thing, because you're going to hit that small goal, right? So if like the image of climbing the mountain, right? I use this image. We use it at 3-day Get Life giveaways as well. So if you're looking to climb the mountain and it's so high up and you can't barely see even the peak, and that's the moon, right? So if you're going after that moon, that's your goal. Now, if you're someone who beats himself up or someone who is discourages easily or whatever, you're going to look at that top and you're going to say, hell no, I'm not going up there. It's not going to happen. Not even try. Why would I need to go up there, right? And your brain is very good at creating all kinds of reasons why this shouldn't and wouldn't, and it's not going to work, right? Should, could, would. So, but if you set yourself a goal that, you know what, today or right now, I'm going to set myself up to hit that 100 steps, or there is this overlook right there, maybe about quarter up the mountain. I'm going to hit that goal. So if you go and reach that goal, now you're gaining a little more courage. Like, well, I've achieved it. I wonder what else I can do. I wonder what else I can do. And I think that is going to help you on the journey to get up that mountain. I mean, we've used this example of the Manitou incline. Funny, you know, kind of an example. But if you think about it, you were walking up there one way. I was walking up there another way, right? And we both achieved that goal, but it had to be, I think, designed specifically to the type of person that is going after those goals.
Yeah, that's valid. And I think this is why we do action items and waypoints and things like that as well, right? Yep. To let us know that we're on the chance.
Exactly.
The other thing I think is important too is to celebrate success along the way to your goal. Like, so for instance, so even if you haven't hit your goal, what you should celebrate. So I'll give you an example. So Peter, back in the day, I used to wakeboard a lot, which is you get pulled behind a boat and you do flips and tricks. And I was trying to learn this barrel roll. Yeah. Believe it or not, I was learning this barrel roll.
Is that where you lost the hair because you were running on the water all the time and was scraping this?
According to you, I've lost my hair like 50,000 different ways. Like, which one is it? Like,
I'm trying to pinpoint this. Okay. At some point, I'm going to probably come up with the right answer.
So it took me literally 104 crash and burns before I got the wake roll. But guess what? When I hit 50, I'm like, that's awesome. I smashed myself into the water 50 times. Like it can't be that much further away. No. And like, so, you know, if you're a real estate investor, I remember when, you know, making offers, hey, I made 20 offers. Good for me. I made 50 offers. Good for me. I mean, you know, you got to start just rewarding yourself along the way too. And again, my belief is that pick a waypoint or a midpoint or a mile marker along this journey that you feel good about, that you actually achieved something. And it's not just like, you know, something that you shouldn't celebrate. Like pick something that you actually feel good about, you can celebrate and then celebrate it. When I was paying off my debt, some of you guys know I had a ton of credit card debt. And when I paid off $10,000 of credit card debt, I would reward myself with $1,000 that I'd get to spend because all my money was going towards credit card. Now, by the way, like, and many times I would get that $1,000, I would give myself that $1,000 and be like, I'd rather put it back into the debt. Right. But I gave myself that permission, which kind of encouraged me to pay off the debt because I saw progress in it and I felt like I was making, you know, headway.
Yeah, to your point, I think that's a great example. And I will assume this, and I will say that every single one of you listening to this podcast have the ability to go after something, go do it again. Like he just said, you know, 10,000 times kind of thing on wakeboard. You all have that ability. And here's how I know this. Because I think every single one of you, and I'm assuming that's a big assumption, but I think every single one of you are able to walk or ride a bike. If you think about it, and you probably don't remember when you started walking, but you've seen other kids, they fall over about 10,000 times before they get the balance down and start walking. Same thing with bicycling. So what should that tell you? That deep down inside, you're probably a pretty resilient person who can go after and achieve those goals that you set yourself up to. And if you create those waypoints, create those action steps, it's going to help you. You know, waypoints is like this mile marker that's going to help you see that I can do this, right? This is like he just mentioned about the credit card, $10,000 paid off. That's a milestone for him. He had to do certain action to be able to get there. Like every single month, I'm paying over and beyond to my, you know, credit card payment, right? Or I am not spending money on hair products, right? Which I think was probably easy for you, you know. But you have these action points. And by the way, here's what I think is important too. Those action points along the way can also be something outside of the direct correlation to your goals. What I mean by that is for you, let's say, you know, the paying off the debt. Some of the action points is to pay over and beyond every month. But it also mean that not related specifically to the goal, you don't go to a restaurant 5 times a week, right? That was an action to eat at home, which probably had indirect proportion to the actual goal. Does that make sense? Am I making myself?
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. There's other things that your goal, the pursuit of your goal will show up in other areas. It'll show up in other things that will affect it as well.
Right. But make sure that those action steps that you set up and those milestones are directly responsible for actually getting to that goal. What I mean by that is this. If you're a real estate investor and you are going after getting that first deal, there's a certain amount of education that you can do, and you can set yourself up some steps to actually learn how to wholesale, how to flip. But then it gets to a point where it just becomes this, constantly learning, analysis paralysis. Those action steps of constantly learning is not going to get you closer to the goal. So what you want to do is you actually set up the steps and action steps that are going to get you closer. So it's a direct proportion to the goal. So making the calls, dollars for driving for dollars, those kinds of things. Those are important steps too, I think, to be able to take.
And we didn't talk about this, but I'm a big fan of action-based goals versus results-based goals in terms of you can control those. So like, hey, I'm going to put out 20 offers this week. I'm going to try, on this run, I'm going to try, I'm not going in, I'm wakeboarding. I'm not going to go in until I crash 5 times, whatever it is. Like you can set those action. And sometimes you don't know how long it's going to take, which kind of leads me to my third point, which is just don't take no for an answer. Like if this is something you want, don't take no, just have the resilience and the persistence to make it happen. Dude, it took me 10 years to win my first bodybuilding show. It took me 104 wake rolls to get my first one. It took me 82 offers to get my first real estate deal, 7 years for my PhD. Like this stuff takes time. You just gotta buckle down and not take no and just keep moving forward.
You sure is that not just you?
Dude, it's everybody.
No, but listen, let me ask, on serious side of things, talk about resilience. How you still resilient though? How did you end up staying resilient for those 10 years to get to that goal? I mean, because I bet you there were so many times and opportunities and people in your life who said, what are you doing? This is crazy. You should maybe quit. It's not working, right? You had those kinds of conversations with people. So how you still resilient? How you keep your focus on that goal to reach that? Like, how did you get through that?
How did I?
Yeah, like how did you stay resilient?
I knew that I saw other people do it. And I'm like, if they can do it, I can do it. Like, and I don't care how much smarter they are. I'll just make up for it through brute force, through brute effort, like through more attempts. Like, eventually I'll learn it. Eventually we're all capable of making these things happen. I think that was the biggest thing for me, and the encouragement of other people. Like, and people have said like, when I was, almost any endeavor I look at, it was people just saying, hey man, come on, you got one more. Even in the gym working out, I'm ready to quit. My training partner's like, dude, one more, come on, one more. And then, you know what I mean? Like I think you eventually and then you start doing that for yourself and you see it's possible. I mean, David Goggins talks about this all the time. He says that most people stop at 40% of their capabilities. Like that, that means you think you can only do 10 chin-ups. Well, if that's 40%, you actually can do, whatever the math is on that, 40.
Don't ask me.
Yeah, I don't know. No. Sorry. I don't know what that math is either. It's like 18, whatever it is. It's 40%.
Right. So what I'm hearing is one important aspect is to look for proof of others who have succeeded in what you're trying to do. So that's an important thing. Look for that proof and see what they've done, like model them. People who actually succeeded. 2, surround yourself with people who are going to help you on that journey, who are going to encourage you, not discourage you, right?
Yep.
3, create those waypoints, those milestones that are stretching you a little bit, but they're going to help you, reach that overall goal. So you can have some encouragement along the way, give yourself some rewards along the way. Anything else?
Two more things. One is having the why that we talked about in the past.
Yep.
So go back to listen to that episode. And the last thing, man, I think is really encouraging too, is imagine what it's going to feel like when you accomplish it. Like visualize that, actually feel it. Like in your head, try to visualize this, see yourself accomplishing that thing and imagine what that's going to feel like, because it is awesome. And like that feeling, if you can kind of put that in, you just constantly like put yourself in that state. Like, I think that's something that's really motivating as well.
That is a very powerful thing. And I believe that actually works really well, but you got to bring in the emotion, your entire body into it, and everything. The nervous system needs to be activated in order for that to wire. If you ever seen Olympic athletes before they, let's say, do a run, or when they go down the slopes on skiing, they sit up there, they'll close their eyes, and they're literally moving in one place, visualizing the whole thing. And I think that is really important for you to do, because your body doesn't know what's real and what's not. So if you start doing that, then you start emphasizing that. And when you get to it, you're going to be able to get, to the goal a lot faster. Yesterday, just happened. My middle kid asked me to go and help him do some driving. He's doing his driving ZED right now. Okay. So right now he's just taking the test, and what's coming up, he's going to start doing a driving test. So we went in the parking lot and we started doing the driving around the parking lot, and they talked to them about overhead steering versus push and pull steering and all that kind of stuff. So he's in his element. This is brand new to him. He doesn't know, he drove a little bit before with me, but this is kind of new. So he's overthinking it a little bit, right? So he's trying to pull that steering wheel and push it and all that kind of stuff. And I said, listen, go home, because he has, from a Nintendo game, there is a wheel that you can use. I said, start practicing it. Imagine that in your head that you're driving the car and start doing the push, pull. Because then when you get in front of the real steering wheel, it's going to become a lot more natural to you to actually do this. So I think that's such a powerful way of gaming yourself to be able to reach those goals.
Cool, man. And in the meantime, stay off the sidewalks in Michigan. Yeah. All right, dude. Well, hey, man, this has been an awesome episode. I hope you have enjoyed it as well. We enjoyed sharing this discussion with you. If you want to be part of the Life in Air community and be part of the discussion, head on over to the free Life in Air app. You can go to lifeinair.com to learn more. And otherwise, we'd love a review or rating, and we look forward to seeing you next week. So until then, keep moving forward, keep growing, and don't take no for an answer.